أركانات يا أركانات 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 جعلوا السبقالسي مقالي دمصيخوم لتسانو مرسي عاتم نايتم المقالة نايلو معبوسان إذا خاب زيكون تعسناتكم وسان بروحي كلابو بروحي كلابو كخانكم لسان.
Welcome to Zenanatsinet. Today I am speaking with Efrem Berhane, the son of Berhane Abrahet, to discuss about the Eritrean regime, his father, and his life in the diaspora, and how he wants the Eritrean youth to engage on the matters that are occurring back home. Efrem, I want to thank you for showing up, and I want to ask, how's your day?
Hello Zenanatsinet. Hello my friend, how's it going? Thank you for inviting me and letting me use your platform to speak my mind.
All right, thank you so much, Efrem. If I may ask, when did you first come to the United States?
So I came to the United States around 2018. So that's like I've been here for 2 years and a half, or almost like 4 years.
Okay, so what I know you are in university right now, and I want to ask, what are you pursuing in right now?
Yeah, so I'm going to university. I'm doing my master's in computer science. I'm learning like DevOps and Java programming. So this is my last couple of months. I'm finishing up with projects and thesis and stuff like that, and currently I'm looking for a job. I'm not actively doing that, but I'm looking for opportunities, like to move to the next stage. I'm almost done with this course.
That's good. That's good. I really like to hear that. I want to move on to your interactions with the general Eritrean community when it comes to politics. And I want to ask, what are your interactions that you do in the diaspora?
Yeah, so I try to participate in different kinds of events, like wherever I can, especially like in something involving Eritrean people. I like to get involved as much as I can with work and study. So I try to do that, and I try to network as much as I can, especially not especially, but with the Eritreans from the diaspora, and I try to learn from them. And I actually do a lot from them, especially make good friends, come to realize about rights, about freedoms of speech, different kind of activities that they do, and about life in general, because I'm new to this country also, so I need there's a culture shock, so I need to learn the ways of this country also. So I get that information, which is very helpful for me from them. And I like to talk about their success stories also. That is always inspirational to me, coming to the diaspora and making it, that's always inspirational. And I also try to understand their struggles too, because there's a lot of challenges that they go. There are a lot of hurdles behind that Instagram post, so that matters also, that I want to learn about that also. So yeah, I talk with supporters of the regime also, and I see that I try to talk to them, and I find that some of them are kind of misinformed. I get where they're coming from, the support for the regime have or something like that. I'm talking specifically about the diaspora Eritreans who were born and raised, especially in here. There are some people who come from Eritrea and still support, but most of them they know, so they know what's going on back home, so they choose to be silent. But those who are like actively talking or something like that are, most of them are like born and raised in here, or I don't know what it is, but I try to understand like where they're coming from, and it's legit concern, but they actually know what's happening in Eritrea is not right, you know. But the thing is, the threat, which is like the external force, it outweighs the problems inside. So that's where the problem comes, you know. I don't blame them, but they are being fed like specific kind of information, which is like the misinformation by the government. And frankly, to tell you, it's not fair for people to be that misinformed, especially like if you're vocal about it. You have to dig up for information, especially at this era. It's easier. You have like the internet, and most importantly, like you can get the first-hand information. Just like call your cousins, and like not only like specific people, but like call your relatives in general. You know, like people who are living in ID, who are like in the military service or something like that. Like talk to them, not only those people who take you out when you go back home, you know, like talk to everybody, and not trying to lecture them, just hear what they have to say, like ask to learn. So that's it. Like, but other than that, yeah, we talk, like I like to talk about how we can build Eritrea. Like I want to focus on like building the new instead of like wasting the energy fighting the old, you know. So with that kind of mentality, I talk with a lot of people. Yeah.
All right, thank you so much, Efrem. Can you elaborate on the disinformation that is going on in the Eritrean diaspora?
Yeah, the disinformation is mostly by the propaganda channels, basically, right? So the thing is, the Eritrean propaganda channels, like they make Eritrea look like a country that is working hard to progress and like to make it, you know, like to be resilient, or like a country that is like giving it all to make it work, you know, while the outside forces are threatening to destroy us. That's the kind of image like the propaganda portray, you know. Whereas in reality, Eritrean people, they are doing that. But the threats, it lies in the internal policies, you know, like how like they try to micro control everything. And like, even if you try to control like every and each step of individuals, firstly, it's not physically possible to do that, you know. And like there is more that's choking the country to death. Like the real threat, like the day-to-day life that's happening in Eritrea is due to like the leadership, you know. That's the fact that everybody, especially back home, knows. And that is due to like the president, who is, by the way, like the best con artist I know. Whatever he says is like the total opposite of like whatever he does, and he frames everybody else beforehand to protect to his untouchable image, you know, so that like people can worship him. Like that's the best tool that he has. He earns his trust from his image. He makes himself look like he is that humble, hardworking guy who tries to do good to Eritrea. But in reality, like the policies that he makes is like the total opposite of like the image, you know. So that's the difference. That's why I call him like the con artist, the best con artist that I know. And he also likes to play the blame game, you know, turning the whole population against those who knew his intentions, and like they painting them black. And that's also like one kind of disinformation that's happening in Eritrea. Like there's a network called Bado Celeste inside the country also, you know. So like it is like Bado Celeste is like a network, like word of mouth spreading like disinformation or like telling lies in the city, you know, like so everybody doesn't get that information directly from the news outlets, but that's the word in the city, like what's going on, and everybody knows that, and that's how you misinform the population, you know. So for example, when there was like uprising in Accra, like the Bada Celeste or like the word of mouth in Asmara, like by the way, this is like a real organized thing. This is not just like a hypothetical thing that I'm talking about. Like there's a network, and like they would misinform the people that this was some kind of Muslim movement, whereas they were like fighting, like they want to make like a Muslim, like kind of to overthrow and make like a Muslim country or something like that. But that wasn't the case. They were fighting for their rights. They were saying enough is enough, you know. But that's how they frame and like turn the whole population against those people, you know. So that's what I meant when I was talking about like the disinformation. Hope that was clear.
Thank you, Efrem. Another question that I would like to ask is, when the regime falls, do you intend on returning to Eritrea to visit or to return and rebuild a life there?
Yeah, actually, that's a really good question. Yeah, I mean, like my heart dwells in Asmara, you know. I miss Eritrea so much, and I feel like my soul is still there, you know. I'm just physically here. And on top of that, like this is not home for me, at least not yet, you know. So yeah, unfortunately, like we were not lucky enough, and we were forced to leave our beloved country by the regime, and I will definitely return and build my life there. I know that I want to do that. And also, my father also did the same, you know. He had the opportunity, he was here in the US, and he has the opportunity to make a living in here, you know, but he chose something that was valuable for him, and he wanted to give back to his country. Like his entire life was dedicated to Eritrea, you know, and I like his dream. His life has been like so meaningful when I see it, you know. He lived it to the fullest, and he was ready to die for his freedom and like for the prosperous and free Eritrea. And that's why at the young age, he came here and he did his master's, and he went back to Eritrea to join like the military force, like the Tagadati, and also like fight alongside his brothers and sisters, and like make his dream come true, you know. Like he was ready to die to see like free and prosperous Eritrea, and I like to continue that noble dream, and I believe it's up to us to continue this marathon, you know, and build a free and prosperous nation. So given that, I definitely want to go back to Eritrea.
That is very truly inspirational. Thank you so much, Efrem. I would like to ask more about your father. When you heard about your father being abducted by Eritrean national security, what went through your mind? How did you feel?
Yeah. So actually, like I saw it coming, but to be honest, when I learned the news, it was so different, you know. It is different when it becomes reality, and like all kinds of emotions goes through me, you know. It was difficult for me to accept, and it still is, because like it's unfairness, and I cannot like just keep on moving, you know. So as much as I'm proud of him, I'm also like very emotionally connected to him, you know. So I still feel some like hole or like part of me like missing, you know. And that's like the kind of effect of like miscommunicado also. Miscommunicado is like a form of imprisonment, like where the inmate doesn't get to access to his family, doesn't get access to medicine, doesn't get access to law, and like nobody sees him. And that unfortunately is very common in Eritrea, which is very sad, you know. And like it has like more pressure also for the whole family, not only for the inmate. So I saw it coming because I know the regime doesn't tolerate any form of opposition or critics, which is so weak, you know. But he basically like challenged him for a televised debate. He called the head of the country and asked and challenged him for a debate about the current situation and like the choices that has been made and all of that, you know. But he turned behind his back and abducted him from the middle of the street, and his whereabouts are unknown, you know. So like it wasn't even like a proper arrest where you have like a warrant or something. It was like literally like abducting him like in a car and like taking him away. And like that's like a mafia move, you know. And that's like another proof. This is not like a one thing incident. This happens like for thousands of Eritreans. And people like literally vanish every day, you know, like that. And we keep on going about our lives, you know. That's just so crazy to ignore such things are happening and like to keep on with your life, you know. So this is like the hidden part of like Eritrea. Like nobody talks about this. Like people are scared and terrified because when you talk, maybe that can be your fate also, you know. So nobody dares to talk about it. So that's like ruled by fear. That's like how they are doing it. So yeah, I was really hurt to see like all his life struggles, like 50 years dedicated to Eritrea, and to be treated that way is not still good, but that's not the story of like an individual, you know. I'm really proud of him, like for like his life, like, but still I feel also as his son, I also feel more connected emotionally to him. So it's still hard.
Very sorry to hear that, Efrem. I really appreciate you for your words. I recall that you have went to the United Nations to make an inquiry about this incident, and the UN Human Rights Commissioner, I believe it was Sheila, right? It was Sheila, right?
Yeah, I think Sheila was there. Yeah.
Oh, you brought up that topic at the United Nations. Did you bring up any other topics when you were over there to make your testimony?
Yeah, the thing is about like the international community, like you have to put fire under their feet. Unless you do that, then nobody cares. So like I don't put my eggs in them for the change to come from them or something like that. I truly don't believe that. But that was like the first time I came to the US, and I was just like giving testimony of like what happened in Eritrea, because like the truth has to be told. Like we cannot keep on being quiet, you know. And just it's not about like blackmailing or like painting black your country. The regime and the country are two very different things, you know. So like the way the regime is operating that country, it has to be exposed, and that's not fair. Like but I know like the change is not going to come from them, and I don't wait on them, kind of thing. like we have to do our part. And yeah, that's where I stand regarding like the NGOs and stuff like that. Like I don't want to wait on them. That is like waiting for someone to do something. That's like disabling, you know. You have to try your way. That's how they did it when they brought like the independence of Eritrea, you know, like they didn't beg for it. Like they went out and did it themselves. They were young people like us who led the armed struggle and like made it to the end, you know. And we have to do something similar also. That's what I believe.
Thank you so much, Efrem. I want to go back to talking more about your father. I know in 2017 or 2018, he published a book. I want to ask, what is your father's book about?
Yeah. So the book was actually written in 2015, and he tried to publish it inside Eritrea, but nobody dared to take his book and publish it because, you know, that's the way of things in Eritrea. Like it's going to backfire on them, and they're not going to be heard of, or nobody is going to see like where they are if they do that. So nobody dared to do that. And he tried to publish it outside Eritrea also, but those people who were concerned about him and his well-being were not willing to help him also. But finally, it was released in 2018, I believe, yeah. And it has two parts. So what the book is about is, the first part is about like Eritrea and from the international and domestic perspective, you know, like what is Eritrea like? It talks about Eritrea, and it's dedicated to all Eritrean youth. And he says somewhere in the introduction that he met a lot of people from different ages, and while talking to him, he came to conclude that our understanding about the world politics and the Eritrean politics is very limited, and that's by design. He wanted that's by design because the government doesn't want you to be exposed to the world, how the world is working. And if you start to talk about politics more, that's not good for the government. So that was by design. And he wanted to break that chain to his best of his ability, you know? And he used the resources from the things that he read, or like from encyclopedias and from his internalized knowledge over the years of life experiences, you know. And he tried to summarize and analyze everything that he thinks we need to know about politics, basically related with Eritrea, and like it's like the pre-context to the main point that you want to address. So in order to understand what he wants to say, first you have to come like through this pre-context and understand like the global politics and how it's going to affect us, and topics that are there. He even encourages like the readers who are interested to research on the topics and debate on them. He specifically writes like people should debate on this things so that we can have like deeper understanding about the politics around us, you know. And from that context comes the second part, which is about what's next, you know. So from where do we go from here? And in that he talks about like the Eritrean independence and the hopes that the people had. And he talks about like the plans of the government that was first there, or something like that, like the policies that it had and the vision that it had. They were planning to make it like the new Singapore, and there was plans and things going on. But short after that, Isias like had to interfere and like cut everything, you know. So he abused that dream, and Isias started to establish like systems to consolidate his dictatorship, and like the Eritrea became like a militarized kind of nation, and like he talks about the justice system, and like the active destructive choices that were made by Isias and its impact, and how they are felt in the future, or like how we are seeing like the results now, and why he does it, and all that. And also it talks about like why we need change, and how to bring about a legal, peaceful, and civilized change, like the Eritrean way. That's how he puts it, and I like it too. Like it's something like legal, peaceful, and civilized way, and like there are like steps, like what we need to do, and like what each part or each sector of the Eritrean demography, or like the country people have to do, you know. And like everybody has to do their part, and it's that synergy that will make the change. So like if you are a priest, as a priest, like what you have to do, like if you are in the military, what you have to do, like if you are in the government offices, what do you have to do, like as citizens, what do you have to do, like if everybody knows like their duties and like what they need to do, like their parts, not duties, like their parts. And if everybody plays their part, then that's how he proposes the change will come. So these are the two books. It's currently written in Tigrinya, and it's been translated into English also. It will be coming
When
soon.
will the English book be published? Because I know it's under the works.
Yes. So like there was a petition that started to translate it to English like a while ago, and also like people, I was actually looking for like people to translate it, and you know, like resources were kind of limited and stuff like that. But I think now it's going well, and it's halfway there, and we will hopefully see like the published one like some day soon, maybe by the end of the year or something. I cannot give you like the specific end date, but it's almost there.
All right, that sounds good. Perfect. I'll be looking forward to reading the book, because I speak a little bit Tigrinya, you know. Obviously Tigrinya is not my first language, but I would love to, like, you know, read what your father had to say.
Agor organic flaxseed styling gel. Agor organic flaxseed styling gel ካብንጣጢ ዕረ ባምያ ሞሎኽያ ብናይ ሓበሻ ሆርሞናት ማለት ብእንምገቦም መግብታት ዝተሰርሐ እዩ። ንዝኾነ ዓይነት ናይ ፀጉርና ስታይል ንነዊሕ ግዜ የጽንሓልካን ካብ ምስባር ፀጉሪ ይከላኸለልናን። ካልኦት ዓይነት ጀል ንፀጉርና ናይ ምስባር ባህሪ ኣለዎም። እዚ ግን ካብ ኬሚካላት ነፃ ስለ ዝኾነ ካብ ከምዚ ዓይነት ባህሪ ነፃ እዩ። ንፀጉርና አንጸባርቂ ምስሊ ከም ዝህልዎ ይገብር። ዕድመን ጾታን ድማ ብዘይ ኣፈላላይ የገልግል። ፍርያት ኣጎር ኩሉ ኣብ ዓዲ እንግሊዝ ይስራሕ። ኣብ ድኳንኩም ክሸጡን ከተከፋፍሉን ምስ እትደልዩ በዚ ተጠቂሱ ዘሎ ዌብሳይትናን ቴሌፎንናን ክትረኽቡና ትኽእሉ። ከምኡውን ኣብ ኩሉ ናይ ሓበሻን ኣፍሮን ድኳናት ክትረኽብዎ ትኽእሉ ኢኹም።
Yeah, I'll definitely send you myself.
Thank you. Another question that I would like to ask is about your father. Again, what do you think your father feels after being abducted? Do you think that he is proud that he stood up against a tyrant regime?
Yeah, I mean, like, no, I don't think he did it to show an act of courage, you know? He really, really wants to see Eritrea and Eritreans live in freedom, you know? So he cannot do it solely. So that's why he did that, you know? So that like everybody can do their part. And I've talked about it before, but he's the kind of person who doesn't get used to things. What I mean by that is, like, for example, let me give you an example. Like, for all these years that electricity has been going off in Eritrea, like a lot of people know that, right? So we got used to it, you know, and like when it's off, like you don't even like bother about it. You just go and do your thing, you know. So it's like a routine. So we got used to it. But for my surprise, like he never got used to it. Like it's been like 10 years or something like that. Every day he would get frustrated every single day. And it also frustrated him that we got used to it, you know? And he would tell me not to get used to circumstances, but like to try to change them to your best of your ability, because like these are manageable things. That's what he would say. And he's the kind of person who is not going just to point out problems, you know? He would also suggest ways to solve the problems. He was studying engineering, so he would like to come up like with the most efficient way of like solving that problem. So like whenever you're going about, even in the city or something, like if he sees something which is not done right, he would not just point out to that problem, but he would also like tell you like how to solve it, you know, like what it can be done. So that tells me that there is always room for improvement. Also, like there is a way to fix things, that change is good, you know? So like if you see something, you don't have to be just accustomed to that situation. You have to think of like how you can make it better, how you can change it. So I cannot imagine like how he's taking this, of course, if he's alive. But like I think it will be hard for him. Like I don't think he's gonna accept it, and it worries me. But his intention was not to be like show like an act of courage, you know. He really wants to see a free Eritrea. But being released or free won't make him proud. I don't think that's gonna make him happy either. I think he wanted to see a free Eritrea more than anything. So yeah, like that goes for all other political prisoners also, like who stood against that tyranny, the tyrant regime, you know. They don't want to be just free. I think that it would even kill them more to see, like, after all the price that they have paid to see Eritrea in this stage, that would even like be more hurtful for them, you know?
Right, it would like be all in vain.
Yeah,
Right.
you know? So like it's more like their dream has to be realized, and that's what they are trying to do. Like they are trying to keep them out of the picture so that their dreams can die with them, you know. But we have to fight that fight also. Like we have to keep remembering not them only, but like their dream, and we have to make it not too vain. Like we have to make it come to exist, you know. Like we have to see Eritrea free. That's what I think.
All right, thank you, Efrem. I want to ask you some like quick questions right here,
Okay.
because this just like I just realized this, and I was hoping if you can answer this question. When did your father start working in the Ministry of Finance? Like what year?
So he was working in the micro policy before, like when they came to Asmara after like the
91 or
yeah, after 91. And after that he was positioned into the Ministry of Finance, I think around 2000.
The like 2000?
Around that year, yeah.
Oh, and when did he resign?
So he resigned in 2012.
Mm-hmm.
So how it happened was he handed out like letters to all the ministers in the meeting. They were having like the cabinet minister meeting, and like he challenged Isaias like to change his ways, like a lot of people are fleeing the country, youth people are fleeing the country, and we have to change our policy and like try to reserve them, because that's going to work against our benefit as Eritreans. And he was talking about like the mining revenue from Bisha, like it wasn't going through the Ministry of Finance, so it wasn't being accounted for. So he was asking for accountability also. And like he was also talking about we have to be reliable of like what we did in the past, and like we have like everything has to change, like we have to change, like there has to be change in the way things are working. So he proposed some ways, but I don't think a lot of them backed him up at that moment. So he chose to resign by himself, because he said like, I don't want to be part of it anymore if things are not going to change. So he resigned, and after that he like never stopped the fight, he was still at home, but he chose to write the book. Then I always used to think that he was writing his biography or something. I never knew he was writing about this. And we also encouraged him to write his biography, which he didn't, which I'm not happy about, but he did something meaningful to him. So yeah, after that, he wanted to do his part also. He was just trying to find a way he can contribute like to the best of his ability, because everybody knows like what's going to happen. That's why he wrote whatever he had in his mind, and like so that it can be permanent, So
Efrem, if I can ask you a question. Your father worked at the Ministry of Finance between the years of 2000 and 2012. Did he witness human rights abuses during that time? And if so, what took him so long to resign? I don't want it to be like an offensive question, but I'm just asking out of curiosity.
Yeah,
like was he waiting for the right time?
Yeah, that's the thing. Like a lot of people also say that, even like there were people who did the same thing before him, and like there are people who are doing the same things also over and over. But one thing also that we have to understand is like there are people who are fighting inside also, like who are trying to hold things together, and as much as it is like trying to make everything break down, like by making the people who are working hard in burnout, and like by changing like their positions every now and then, so that like they can be consistent on whatever they are doing. Like they have to relearn whatever they are doing, if you are like relocated to another position. And like all these bright minds of the country are forced to leave, because like there is nothing that can attract them to whatever they are doing. Like they work under situations or circumstances that's very hard to contribute. So like if you know that you can contribute a lot, but the system is not going to let you, then you are forced to leave, So like, but there are still other people who are like holding it together, like who are fighting, trying to do something, like to keep things going. Like he said, like I think it was J. Cole or something. He said like the good news is we have come a long way, but the bad news is we came the wrong way, So there are people who are like holding it together, the country, like if it wasn't for them, like Eritrea would have been like in even worse position right now. But we have like to contribute. That's what I'm saying. Like we have to fix our mentality and like be more kind to each other, and like it's not about the destination, it's also about the journey. So we as the young generation have a lot of things that we need to do, and we have to help our brothers and sisters who are doing their part, and that's what I think. But for me personally, I cannot answer for him. Maybe he have his own reasons, but that's what I think.
All right, thank you so much, Efrem.
Mm.
If I may ask, do you think the people back home know that they are under a dictatorship, considering that you were one of those people at one point before you fled the country?
No, like there is a saying that goes like, the best way to keep a prisoner from escaping is like by not letting them know that they're in prison, So for me, I was born into that system, so I was not only born into the system, but I don't know anything else also. I don't have anything to compare it to, So whatever I was living, even like whatever I saw in the TV, it wasn't like real for me. Like it's some kind of like science fiction or something, movie or something that you see, And we have like that perspective that Eritrea is the safe haven, whereas like the outside world is like burning or something really bad is going on, So if you are born into that kind of system and you don't know anything else, it's hard for you to know that you are in oppression. So for me, I was also that person, like but then like my eyes start to open, like when I start growing up and like start reading the Constitution, like start reading books, like start reading and also talking to people also, like when you know like your Constitution, like your rights, and you see that things are not going that way, then you know that there is something wrong, because it says that the higher authority of the law is like the Constitution, and whatever law that is made against that Constitution and its spirit is invalid, So like, for example, if they deny you to get a visa, but our Constitution allows us to have visa and to travel within Eritrea to whatever places that you want to go, then like if there is a rule that came that says you cannot go past this point, then you know that there is something wrong, That's where you start to open your eyes. At first we were like, okay, we cannot go that way, it's not allowed, it's like the rule, But then like you start to defy the rules also, and you start to question them. And like when you start seeing that, then a lot of things like start to pop up, So I don't blame the people who are in Eritrea at all, because one thing is, especially the young, they are born into the system and they don't know any better. I was one of them. I'm like a witness. And on top of that also, it's like I always use this example, like it's like moving a bunch of mice in a box, right? So if you keep the box steady, the mice are going to dig holes and or jump or think of a way to get out, right? But if you keep on shaking the box, then the mice are not going to move outside of the box, because like their only concern is like the emergency that they have at that point, like how do they stay still, But when they are still, then they will start to think. And that's the same thing that's happening in Eritrea. Like if you don't have like the means to support your family, if you have like crying babies at home and you have to struggle to feed them like every day, if that's not like for granted, then you cannot think outside of that box, So that's how people are in Eritrea. That's how the situation is. So that's what I think about it. Yeah.
ዝኸበርኩም ተዓዘብቲ መደባትና ብቐጻሊ ንምክትታል ኣብ ታሕቲ ዘሎ ሳብስክራይብ፣ ሼር፣ ኮመንት፣ ከምኡ'ውን ላይክ ኣይትረሱ። ብተወሳኺ ሓደሽ መደባት ክንሰርሕ ከለና ቅድሚ ኩሉ ንኽትሪእዎ ነዛ ብታሕቲ ዘላ ናይ ቃጭል ምልክት ተውዎ።
All right. Another question that I would like to ask is in a leaked US cable in the year of 2007, your father's position was described as unclear. Do you have any answer as to why it was described as unclear? Was there any feuds that your father had with the president in 2007?
2007? I'm not sure about that.
Maybe it's just like a rumor, but I just came across that on the internet.
Yeah, maybe like since like there is not a lot of information that goes out about the system and how it works, you know, like everything is like kept in a box. So if there is no one who is like talking about that, like who is trying to, you know, like getting that information out, there's no way that it can be on the internet because there is no like a clear like outlet or like where the government like issues or press release about things like that. So a lot of things are like very unclear in Eritrea.
Unless if it comes from Charlie or, you know, the Shabiat
Yeah.
website, then like it's not really true.
Yeah.
What about like the underground opposition, like Berhane? Like I know that there are people that work inside the country and then they leak some of the information into the diaspora.
Yeah, I also heard about them. Like you hear a little bit even back in Eritrea, like you don't even hear about them that much. These things is being broken now that there are like satellite television broadcasting another perspective to Eritrea, you know, about Eritrea, because everything that you get about information about Eritrea is from TV only. But now there is like Erisat, and people also used to listen to like the radio channels, right? So you hear
like Radio Arena?
Yes, like Radio Arena. Yeah.
Since you were in Eritrea, did you have like satellite TV over there? And like, if so, what were the opposition channels that you watched?
There was no a satellite television that was broadcasting to Eritrea then. This came like around 2018. Erisat started it, and I think that's the thing. Then Asana came after that, but I have never seen Eritrean opposition channel before, which is also sad. Like after like 30 years being in the movement, like you expect something to like a bridge to link the diaspora with the internal people, right? Internet access is impossible, so satellite television was like the one thing. But since like there were maybe technology barriers, or you know, like a lot of people didn't even, I guess a lot of people also came to the truth after like the peace deal with Ethiopia or something. Like a lot of youngsters, especially from the diaspora, start learning about like, okay, wait, then what was happening if like there is peace now, then if there is no change, then what is happening? That was also like an eye-opener for a lot. So maybe that also contributed. But yeah, but back home we used to listen to Radio Arena a little bit. And yeah, and like the people from Berhane or other oppositions, like there are from Sudan, I think, or who are doing in Sudan and who are working in Eritrea, like they need to get like coverage, and they are not getting that much of coverage. And that has to do with, I think, like reliable source, you know, like they cannot like take footage of themselves and post it, you know, and like it has to be some kind of underground from what I understand. Maybe that's why, because like if everybody starts like just broadcasting news from unverified news, that's not going to help either. So they need to get more coverage, and we need to, I don't know, maybe get more information from them as much as we can. We have to reach out, I think, more.
Right. Another question that I would like to ask is, how do you think change will come to Eritrea? Would it be through the president's incapacitation, either through health problems or death, or would it be from a military coup from inside the country?
I cannot say, to be honest, but like we have to work to make change. That's what I believe, you know, like we don't have to just wait for the change to come by itself, you know. We have to do our part. That's what I think. And I don't think it's just like one thing. It has to be like a synergy of things, you know, like all these people who are working for the oppressor, who hold the stick for them, who are threatening people, they have to know that they are being misinformed, and they have to know that they are hurting their own people, you know. They have to understand that. Like just blaming everybody as Rihanna or something is not going to solve the problem. And we have like a lot of like the establishments or like the systems are not working in Eritrea. So we have to also build these systems in place. It's up to us, you know. The young generation have to have a lot of things that we need to do. The dream can be too big, but it shouldn't like overwhelm us, you know. We have to do our part like step by step and start like building things. For example, as I was just mentioning, like for example, Erisat, right? So that can help as a substitute, not only like a substitute, or like maybe another part of like a television satellite system, right, in Eritrea. So we don't have to go there and build it. We can start here and try to do our part here. And then like when the transition time comes, it will be easier. So that's what I believe. Like everybody has to do their part, not only like trying to fight the old, but also in building the future. I think that's what is going to make it work. At the same time, like we have to be aware of like what's going on about, like, you know, we have to be informed and involved also as much as we can. That's what I believe. Everybody, I mean.
All right. Thank you so much, Efrem. I definitely agree. The last question that I want to ask for this interview is, did you ever do national service?
Yes, I was part of the 24th round and went to Sawa.
What do you mean by 24th round?
So like every year, like when you finish 11th grade, you go to Sawa, right?
Right.
So you go to Sawa, like everybody has to do their national service, and like you do the military training there, and also like you also take like the 12th grade there. So if you don't go to Sawa, maybe you have to go to other place to get to do your military training. And after that, like after 1 year, if you don't get the points to get you to college, then you have to go to maybe the military or something. But if I got grade that can get me to college, so I went to Mainafe and I did my electrical engineering there, and then went out and worked a little bit after that, and then I came here. I got outside of Eritrea.
Okay. Well, Efrem, I really appreciate you for coming on this interview and discussing about your father, the life that was like back home, and how the Eritrean youth should, you know, participate in the political situation and what's going on. I really appreciate you for your time. This is Zenanat Samet, and thank you for watching our video.
Thank you so much.
All right.
أركانا تياركانا تركانا تركانا جغانو سبقالسي مقالح دمصيخو أنتم نيتم المقالة نايلو معبوسان إذا خاب زيكون تعسوناتكم الموسان بروحي كلابو بروحي كلابو